Let's talk about personal organization and making sure you're not double booking events. So when you are contacted by a client or an agent about an event, be sure you're very clear with them on what constitutes a booking. For me personally, if I am asking my artists about an event, I have an availability inquiry, and they all know that that availability inquiry is only valid for the same day. So if I say, hey, are you available on this date in the future at this time? And they tell me yes, they know that if they get a conflicting request in the same day, that they should reach out to me and say, hey, I'm getting another request for that same time. Is your client ready to book? If that happens, then I will proceed at that point with my client. I'll say, hey, the spot is about to get taken, da 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 da. But they know that only within the same day do they need to check with me if they've already given their availability. If I don't contact them and let them know that, hey, the gig is booked, it is confirmed, if I don't do that, then by the next day, they're free to book that time slot. So let's say, I'll give you an example. I ask an artist, are you available next Saturday at 2? They say, yes, I am. The day goes by, nothing happens, nothing gets booked. The next day, they get a request for next Saturday at 2. They don't have to text me or anything. They can book that event. I know that their availability request was just for that same day, and if the client didn't book it, oh well. At that point, if the client still wanted to book, I'd have to check with another artist and see if a different artist is available. But my clients know no deposit means no booking. So be sure that you are clear with your agent on when they want you to put it in your calendar. When I'm working for other agents, I say, is this a booked event? Or I say, has a deposit been taken? If the answer is no, I say, depending on the busyness of the date, I say, okay, I don't mind penciling it in, but please confirm when it is solid. I only pencil in events for certain agents where I know they are very good about getting back to me quickly, and it's not just an inquiry, if that makes sense. Because I send out all kinds of inquiries, and not all clients are going to book that time, and I don't expect or want my artists to pencil those slots in. Those are just inquiries. Once I tell them, hey, it's booked, then yes, you're booked. Or if I say, hey, this is a regular client, it's not solid yet, but I'm 99% sure they're going to book, can you pencil it in? Then that's different. So if you be sure that you always do the action thing at that time, it prevents problems arising later. So if the agent tells you right then, this is a booked event, stop right then and put it in your calendar. It just takes a second. You can do it. If you make it a habit to start doing that at the time that it happens, it will prevent you double booking yourself. I also highly recommend having a backup system where if you are too busy to answer in that moment, let's say you got a text and you're unable to answer that text right then, but you already read it, so you no longer have the notification. What I like to do is screenshot it, quickly email it to myself, because I keep unread emails as action points in my business email account. So I know if something's unread, it means I need to do something. So if I don't have time to log a booking at that point, I'm going to screenshot it, email it to myself so I know, follow up. So have some kind of system for yourself to remind yourself to follow up on things. Don't just leave it and hope that it's going to be okay, because it probably won't. And those kinds of oopsies are not fun oopsies to deal with when they come around. It is definitely disappointing for everyone involved. Be ethical when it comes to accepting bookings. What that means is, if you gave your word to a client or agent to agree to do an event and you get asked for another better event down the road, you honor your word. It doesn't matter if you would make more money at the other event. That is not ethical. It is not good practice. That's not how professionals operate. Now, I do tell my artists that if they are willing to put in the work to help me find one of my approved comparable artists to replace them for their gig, then they're welcome to request that replacement. So this is how that would look. Let's say I booked them for a 2-hour gig, but they now have an opportunity to do a 5-hour gig. I love it when my artists make money. I'm happy for them to be happy and successful as much as possible. So they would come to me and say, hey, Rosie, I have a request to do a 5-hour event that day. I was hoping to do it, so I double checked, and so is actually available to replace me. Are you okay with that person replacing me? At that point, I would let them know yay or nay. Generally, it's okay for the most part, unless somebody has a personal request. And even then, I've convinced a client to swap out a personal request if the person really wanted to do a different event. The idea is just to be ethical and honest and open as much as possible so that there's no issues down the road. Related to that, if you are contracting a gig for an agent, it is never okay to substitute yourself without asking. They have contracted you personally. So unless you have a prior agreement with them that another person can do the gig for you or that you are subcontracting other people under you, then you cannot swap anyone out without their approval. That is extremely important. I have had people do that to me and I read them the riot act because that is not acceptable. This is a professional business transaction and there are certain protocols that have to be followed, and you're not something that can just be swapped out. If you've agreed to do something, you need to make sure that you are the one personally to show up, not your child, not your brother, not your friend, unless you have approval by the agent. So absolutely do not do that. You will be in hot water, and that is something that I would write somebody up so fast for. Please do not do that. So to recap, be ethical when accepting gigs. Make sure that you do not try to drop people last minute, or even your clients, don't do that to them. Don't drop them for a better gig. Always try to find a replacement if it's acceptable. Be sure that you are honest with your agent. Never try to send someone else in your place without prior approval by them. And do everything in your power to make sure that you are organized and efficient and that you're not dropping or missing bookings, because that's a really big red flag for agents. It's a quick way to make sure that they won't call you next time. Part of being a professional means responding to communication professionally. We all live in the 21st century. We all have this fun little box in our hands most of the time that communicates very quickly, and that is your lifeline to gigs. So most agents need quick responses in order to consider you for a gig. Now, I understand not everybody can respond right away. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're in the middle of your day job and you're not actually able to pick up your phone. That's understandable. Your agent will likely get a pretty clear picture of your response rate pretty quickly, and they likely will also get a pretty clear picture of just the way you are with communication in general. They'll get that pretty fast. And if you want to stay top priority on their call list, you want to be able to respond pretty quickly to their inquiries for availability. Because if you consistently wait a really long time, if you're consistently taking 12 to 24 hours to respond to a text, they're likely just gonna not bother. In this industry, we kind of need quick responses. We need to lock the gig down fast. So we really do need to hear from people pretty quickly. Also, your communication skills on your phone, it does reflect in your professional life, the way that you prioritize things. It comes out very clearly in your communications with clients and agents. They see pretty quickly where your priorities are. I understand not everybody is wired the same way in their brains. We don't all organize things the same way, and that is understandable. But that being said, if you want this job to be a priority for you, if you want it to be successful for you and you want to go places with it, you do need to prioritize your communications on your phone. Your phone is in your hand probably most of the day. If you can't get back to an agent right away, at least send them something. Just say, hey, understood, let me check my schedule. I'll be back. I can get back with you at X time. That goes pretty far for most agents in helping them to at least feel that you are interested in the gig and taking it seriously. Otherwise, people who regularly take a long time to respond to me, they just kind of slowly go down, further down my list of who I call first for gigs.